Some viewers may find this content disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Mai-Coh, the official spelunker of the North American Dogman project and part of our science team, and also a good friend of myself. This means once again it is time for Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio, and we are going to be venturing into the caves. Much better now that my shackles have been removed and I am no longer chained up, feeling weak with silver all over me. It is time for Mai-Coh and myself to take a walk into the darkness. My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. I do hope everyone has been well and staying out of trouble. Yet, I do have a question before we bring on our host for the night. What happens to a legend when the truth outruns the fiction? Because as the Dogman phenomenon is evolving, the evidence is becoming more truth and the fiction is disappearing. Tonight, we have the official spelunker of the North American Dogman Project and a good friend of mine, Mai-Coh. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
I am doing so well. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. How are you?
Yes, it is excellent to finally link up, my friend. And I have just been, super busy, like I'd been telling you, and just getting content caught up and rolling stuff out and working on some artwork that was sitting in the oven for quite a while. And yeah, just fielding reports and working on the book and the podcast. So, yes.
That is awesome. You must never be bored.
That is true for sure. I definitely do not become bored because I try to basically work on stuff back and forth, meaning I will,
Mhm.
if I want to put out more than one video in the night, I will put one out and then while it's uploading and such, I will go off and do something else. And then when it's uploading on YouTube, I'll start working on some of my artwork or things that I have been, a little backed up on and such. So yeah, I try to make sure that I just don't spend too much time going insane on a project.
That's so smart. So it keeps you from getting burned out. No, I get it. I'm the same way. That's very cool.
Yeah, because you're an artist as well. And to my audience, you've definitely seen her images in almost every one of my videos. So yes, please make sure to give a big thank you because without Mai-Coh, we would not have any of these amazing images throughout the cave systems and such. So it is good to definitely get you on and have you break down some of the scientific stuff that you specialize in. So I am going to hand the mic over to you, my friend.
Well, thank you so much. So, yeah, I've been caving fairly hardcore for over 10 years. At this point, I wouldn't say hardcore like every single day because I've had a day job, it's a hobby. It can be kind of an extreme hobby though. What got me into caving to begin with though, was my love of paleontology. So the two interests here, this is going to mesh pretty well with what we talk about a lot here on Star Fox Radio. So I think that's going to be pretty fun. Um, I wanted to get into the caves because I wanted to see these traces of prehistoric creatures. There are jaguar tracks from the Ice Age, like Pleistocene things in the caves. I live in Tennessee, and there are several caves that have those tracks, right? There are some where it's not only tracks, obviously, they found the bones. Sometimes these creatures would wander in and they wouldn't find their way out, unfortunately. And there's other places where there's even like fur impressions where it would lean against like a muddy like embankment and the fur impression was still there. Claw marks. And let me tell you, like this stuff, like this was dated to like 14,000 years old, but the claw marks in this muddy embankment, like you couldn't touch it because you'd mess it up because the mud was still damp. Caves have this fascinating way of preserving things. It's almost like time folds in on itself in a cave because there are spots in caves, yeah, where water flows through, things change. It's sketchy too. Those are sketchy when things are active geologically. And there are other areas where stuff literally doesn't change for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. And that is wild. To me, that is so special. So you've got these claw marks that are older than the pyramids, and I got to see them because I have this weird hobby, right? um, so it's a very fascinating, you know, way to explore paleontology. That's not the only reason people get into caving, obviously. It's definitely seeing a side of the world though that most people don't get to see because, the underground world, it's not very well explored. Like we know less about some of the stuff going on, under the earth around, on our own planet than we do about other the surfaces of other planets, right? Like surfaces of the moon, we've looked at everything so carefully, but we don't know what's going on that well underneath our own planet. It's very, very normal to find new species anytime you do a biological survey of a cave. It's like yawn. Of course, we're going to find new species. um, so, like, each cave is its own little sort of encapsulated environment. And there are some, like, okay, the Tennessee cave crayfish, for example, that's going to be found across some caves in the region. And then there are others where it might only be found in one cave or like one cave system or like one region where they're probably connected hydrologically, like through the water table, but maybe not in ways that people have been able to explore. So caves are very fascinating, and yeah, they're a whole different world.
That is straight up so cool, and it is excellent to have individuals such as yourself that are poking around these areas because, as you know, our geologist, William White, who is definitely much larger than myself, isn't really the biggest fan of caves. He said he's like 6'4", I believe, like 240, 250, give or take. And I mean, I'm 6'1", like 158, 162-ish, give or take. And I'm still not trying
Yeah,
to go into
yeah.
those type of
Oh,
areas.
yeah.
So it
I
is
yeah.
definitely
It's
excellent.
not for it's not for everyone. It's definitely one of those weirder hobbies, and yeah, like I'm kind of fortunate. I'm not petite. I'm 5'10", which I don't know. That's pretty tall for a female, but I mean, like, I do like to go caving to new caves with people who are larger around than myself. You understand what I mean? Like, it makes me feel more secure. But see, yeah, I understand like some of the cave pushing where you're pushing leads, they call it, when you're in a new cave or you're trying to find how far the cave that you're in goes. That like the surveying, that sort of stuff. That is definitely for truly brave people because if you're going in what they call virgin passage, where no human has ever been, um, that means that there could be rocks that are just waiting to fall. There could be there could be a pit over the next little boulder, and you have to be so careful. Safety is an extremely important aspect of when it comes to caving anyway. And that's actually one thing I was hoping to talk a little bit about. I don't know. I don't know if anyone actually feels inspired to go caving when they hear about, oh yeah, like, probably cryptids are using the caves. I don't know how many people are like, yeah, let's go find them. Let's go after them. Um, because I'm here to say, like, maybe there are some things that you should make sure that you do before you go charging in. It sounds like most people are intelligent and they're like, nope, nope, I don't want to do that. I don't want to fling myself headlong into a cave, especially if I don't know what's down there. Um, or maybe I should say they have good sense. And then some of us are crazy and we still want to go caving. Um, there are safer ways to do it, though. Similar to some of the guidelines, which I believe have been mentioned in your show, like, if you're actually going out and doing research in the field. When I listened to that episode of yours, I was struck by how many similarities there were when it comes to caving. So the first thing, so this is like kind of similar. Caving is the same thing, like have a call out, make sure that somebody knows where you're going and they know when to expect you back. And if you are not back by a certain time, then that's when they should start, calling people and seeing about, like, should we figure out what's going on and go check on them. And typically we would give ourselves a couple hours at least past when we expect to be back, because cave time does flow weirdly. Things get slow, or you might have, be in a group with somebody who's just kind of a slow mover and it's not an emergency. It just takes wildly longer than usual. That happens. So having that call out, have someone know where you're going. Never go alone. I know there are cryptid researchers who go alone, and there are not that many cavers who go alone. It's really heavily frowned upon in the caving community. You have situations where, and it's sort of a finely grained terminology elitism. Sometimes people say, well, cavers rescue spelunkers, because people who are like, I'm going to go spelunking, and they don't know what they're doing, and they don't have helmets, and they don't have enough lights, and they get lost, and then people have to come rescue them, and the people who know about caves have to come rescue them. At the 2019 National Speleological Society Convention in Cookeville, Tennessee, I heard a very good talk by somebody, an older caver, who is trying to reclaim the term spelunker. He's like, you know what? I'm a proud spelunker. It's okay to be called a spelunker too. We don't need to be elitist about this. So if you hear me, referring to stuff as caving versus spelunking, it's okay if you call it spelunking. I'm not going to be weird about it. But it is like, because speleology, it's still a correct term. Though sometimes people can be, like I said, kind of elitist about the term they use. Okay, I get it. So the other thing too, so yeah, always go with other people. Have someone who knows where you're going. The proper equipment is literally life-saving. Helmets are a must. Absolutely never go to cave without a helmet. It's not just that you might bump your head. Like, it doesn't take a very big rock falling to do some serious damage. But if you have a helmet, it's not nearly as big of a deal. Another thing, of course, is light sources. Not just one. And I say not just two, but three. I have two lights mounted on my helmet. They're zebra lights. So they have rechargeable batteries and they are extremely bright. And I use one at a time. One has more of a focused lens and one is more like a wide angle. Just depends on the kind of space that I'm in. And then I'll often wear the third one just like a little headlamp, like around my neck. So, if the worst comes to it, like, I'm never without a light. And we always bring spare batteries and that kind of thing, especially for a longer trip. So the helmet and the lights are the big deal. Of course, there are a lot of things that make sense. Like, if you're going to be crawling, you know, use knee pads and probably elbow pads, or bless your heart, you will be so so much in pain. um, like, there are some things that make sense, and it depends on the cave too. I would say, though, the best way to get into caving would probably be to get connected with, like, a local grotto, which is the term for a caving club. Now, if you show up at a caving meeting and you say that you're there to, you want to learn about caving because you want to look for cryptids, I'm not sure that you'll be taken very seriously. Like I said, I don't feel like there's a lot of overlap between these two communities, both of which I'm very fond of. But that's a really good way to get involved with the sport, with people who know what they're doing, and they can, maybe give you an in, like, Often they're happy to loan gear to new people, take people on trips so you can get used to it. And, these are good caves to take beginners to, that kind of thing. I don't encourage anybody who's never been in a cave before to say, well, this is a cryptid research area, so I'm going to go caving for the first time ever in this area. That sounds terrifying to me, and I'm a caver. It would be better to like maybe get some people together who are somewhat familiar with it. If your local grotto is aware of the cave, they might even have people who have been in there before who can tell you what to look out for. Oh yeah, this is dangerous. You need vertical gear for this, or this is a pretty straightforward cave. We even have a map. Like it could be any number of things. So the two biggest dangers from caves, setting foot in a cave, the two things that are most likely to take your life are going to be like um, hypothermia and slip and falls. Usually, especially before I was really into the whole cryptid thing, I was like, look, if you're a human in here, you're the biggest, scariest thing here. I'm not so sure that's always true, but usually it's going to be cave crickets and salamanders and you and whatever people you're with. But what you really got to be careful about is, you got to watch your footing. The vertical stuff, it's something not to mess around with. People use hardcore climbing gear. But it's a little bit different than rock climbing though, especially when it comes to like getting back out. These pit caves, there's a lot of concerns to be had. So falling is a big one, or even just slipping and like breaking a limb. Like if someone's going to get injured in a cave too, slip and falls are the big one. Of course, occasionally, rocks shift. Especially, I had some friends a couple months ago. They were trying to dig open. There was a small hole, and they could feel air blowing at them. And this was a cave they were somewhat familiar with, but they're like, oh look, if it blows, it goes, which is true. Like if there's a lot of airflow, there's probably a big space beyond that. They wanted to find it, so they were digging. It's a lot of loose rock, and that breakdown stuff, that loose rock, that stuff's sketchy. So big rock went sliding. Luckily, nobody. But my friend, like her finger was quite injured. I believe her husband was injured also, just like scratched up, bleeding. Maybe some minor fractures just from this one rock sliding. So that's the kind of thing that you got to be careful about in caves. Because it can be sketchy. And then you think if you're looking for cryptids in a cave where lots of people go and there's well-groomed trails, how much are you likely to see? I don't know, probably not much. Truth be told, I haven't seen that many things where the most simple explanation would be that it's from, a Bigfoot or a Dogman or something like that. Because there are these tracks, that are from literally the Ice Age. There are areas where stuff literally never changes. And if they were using these areas in a physical sense, because these creatures leave tracks, sometimes, then we would know because they'd be leaving tracks there and there's just nothing there. So there's a lot of these deep, passageways that haven't changed in 10,000 years or more. We know they haven't been using those. But the entrances or where there's like water flow, those areas hold infinite possibilities. Like that's where you get other animals using it too. That's where any traces are going to get easily wiped out, like in the twilight area where it's not fully dark. That's where you have to worry about stuff like bears too, or raccoons. Even vultures will nest actually in the mouths of caves. Apparently, it hasn't happened to me yet. It probably will. It's pretty terrifying to startle one because they're pretty large birds, and suddenly like blah, they're in your face. And if you startle them badly enough, they will vomit carrion on you. There's lots of things already there to worry about. Now, there are definitely some very credible you know, accounts that involve possible cryptid stuff and caves. I've noticed a lot of them it seems to be like right around the mouth of a cave. And so if you're approaching a cave, I would say that a few things to look out for when it comes to your safety, obviously, even if you're not just going in straight away. Keep your nose out for smells, right? If there is something decaying in a cave, that when you get down close to it, that humid, moist air, like caves often have like a pretty high humidity, like it's near 100% in some places. I mean, it's very like smells. You're gonna smell something if it's rotting right there in the entrance, and that's going to be, if your spidey senses or whatever you want to call it, if your intuition, if you start feeling uncomfortable, like there's something creepy here, listen to that. That's all I gotta say is listen to that because even if your nose doesn't smell an overwhelming stench of something, you might still be sensing something that's off. Some animals kind of have musky odors, bad smells. Got to watch out. that, those are certainly areas, and if you think this might be something's den, I think that's probably a good time to maybe come back later. And definitely not by yourself, because those, you don't wanna come right into something's kitchen or living room, right? Um, and of course, with pit openings where it's like, you don't walk in, you fall in, or you go in, with vertical gear. There are often animal bones there. And it's hard to say, that could be something's larder, or it could just be, and I'm sure often it's, some poor, unfortunate deer slips and falls in and decays. Unfortunately, with some of these pits, especially when they're kind of located in a spot where kind of hard to see them, but there's an entrance where once you're in, there's not really much getting out. There could be quite a few animal bones, so it can be kind of gross, is what I'm saying. It would be a good spot to hide out if one likes to eat things. If you are in one of those spots and it's old bones, I would say look for signs of any bones that have been chewed on. If you're there and things seem old and you're not, in any danger of surprising some wildlife, you know, but you can check the bones and see if something has been chewed on, right? Something that you might find, there are pack rats, and those rodents will often, like, they'll chew on bones as well, but they leave kind of like, if you've ever had a hamster, you see the way they leave little chew marks and things. It's gonna look more like that. Take pictures, though. Caves eat cell phones. You got to be careful. Caves like to eat cameras too, so it doesn't hurt if you're taking any technology in for an actual caving trip. Good cases, Pelican cases for any sensitive gear, I highly recommend. They're pretty tough. Um, I know so many people who have damaged or lost phones and cameras in caves. It's not even funny, but cameras are a great way to document things. Whether you're in a cave or just poking around an entrance or outside somewhere, right? Because then other people can see what you're seeing.
That is all absolutely mind boggling and great information for the audience. I do hope everyone is listening to that because I don't encourage anyone to do anything Dogman based by yourself and also
Oh
going
no.
into cave systems. So that leads me actually into asking, what are your thoughts on the fact? I mean, we do know people are missing in national
Yeah.
forests, and we do know people are missing near cave systems, and also we do know that we have strange tracks that look to be hyena, baboon, and also
Mhm.
cannot be verified. Do you
Right.
think whatever potentially is being seen is living or pulling these people into the cave systems? Because honestly, there really is only two areas these people could have gone, correct? Either in the cave systems or just straight up vanished.
Right. Right. Um, and even if they were entirely consumed, like, what about their gear, right? Something's not gonna eat somebody's backpack, right? It's sort of confounding for me. Obviously, okay, Tennessee alone has 10,000 caves. Most of them are clustered through a main area where there's a lot of them. Like West Tennessee, there's not going to be much. You do have some towards the LBL. You have a lot around the Cumberland Plateau, and you have some towards the Smokies too. So I mean, it's some counties have zero caves though, so they're not everywhere. But where there are caves, there are lots. Like White County has the most. That's sort of like central Tennessee, and they have over 1,000 caves in one county. I mean, like, everyone with much of a backyard, you might have a cave. It's just they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So those 10,000 caves, that means those are caves that people have visited. Those are caves that somebody has documented and somebody has surveyed, at least measured, to make sure it's like at least 50 horizontal feet, or I think it's 30 vertical feet. Like there's certain criteria that it has to meet to be a cave. Those are just the ones that people have visited and have found. Could they be overlooking some stuff there? I mean, I'm sure they could. Some of these caves get a lot of traffic. Some of them, we call them nerd holes. Like only a cave nerd is going to go there because there's nothing there's nothing great to see. It's like a little miserable hole in the ground. There's probably not many formations. Um, and it's just kind of off the beaten path. It's just not really worth a lot of effort, and it might be a lot of effort with not much reward. I would say the nerd holes are probably going to be a better, like better candidates for somewhere for some creature to hide out, because you're not going to have a lot of traffic. You're not going to have a lot of people coming through there, and even in areas where you have a lot of cavers, it's not like people are in there every day, right? I do think this could be happening, but I have never seen anything that indicates a recent, like, I haven't found anyone's gear, I haven't found anyone's stuff. Um, when people have gone missing in those areas, like everyone, like for example, like in Cookville, like this person went missing. We're all, everyone looks, and sometimes if it's an area like, well, there's a lot of caves in the area, cavers will get involved, and sometimes people have found them. The whole time I lived, like, maybe, like, 10 years or so of living around the Upper Cumberland with a lot of caves, it wasn't anything where it was like, well, there's one case which I know you guys have talked about, that wasn't in my area where I lived, where it was something very sketchy with a cave entrance. But the area where I lived, it was like, think somebody, a human unalived somebody else and dumped the body. See what I'm saying? It's so, and they're found after they searched for them. It's somebody that they were looking for, and they finally found them. There's one, I think the person ended his own life, unfortunately. That's what they were afraid of, and that's what they found. Um, a really tragic incident happened quite close to where I am now. It happened a long time ago. I think I was just a kid, but there was a toddler, and he fell into, like, it was just a small cave in someone's backyard, but it had just a few feet of water, and he sadly drowned. And it was in the news and stuff, but I think it was like in the early 90s or maybe the late 80s. Super sad. But these are all instances where, like, they knew someone disappeared and they found them pretty quickly. Um, so, and then of course we'll find, arrowheads. I do have friends who have found, like, prehistoric, like, Native American burials in caves. I can't speak to that from experience. I haven't encountered that. I found artifacts that have probably, I was told in at least one circumstance, the arrowhead was dropped or left or lost somewhere else and probably washed in because there was a lot of sinkhole wash coming through that cave. And I found one where it was actually someone probably sat there in that cave and worked on it, because I found it was unfinished. It's like they're like, meh, this thing isn't great, and they just probably dropped it. But there was the pieces of flint, and then the item, the point that they had been working on napping, right there. And the thing about caves too, okay, I've heard enough people say, oh yeah, finding artifacts in caves, like, it's literally, like, against federal law to take stuff out of them when it comes to, like, archaeological stuff. So unfortunately, I've never found an arrowhead that was not in a cave, so every arrowhead I've ever found is still right where I found it, in every cave. Oh, well. Um, so we find, there's there's a lot of stuff in caves that show people have been in there, people have, used them, and occasionally, like, it makes the news, somebody is found in a cave, but it's always been somebody that, like, okay, we are already looking for them, something's up. Now, this is not in a national park area that I'm talking about. This is like, a somewhat rural, mostly, there's like little cities dotting it, and there's a lot of caves, like in the Upper Cumberland of Tennessee. So I don't know. As far as missing persons go, it's not a situation where you're having just loads and loads of people going missing there. It makes the news whenever somebody goes missing, and then they don't always turn up in a cave, but if they do, they find them, and then that's that. And it's often like somebody fell, or whatever, or was, unalived. But that's not to say it's not possible. And here's the thing. Because there are so many caves that we surely don't know about. And if we found 10,000, like, so that means there's probably 20,000 at least that don't reach the surface, and probably who knows how many. I can't say for certain. There's got to be so many that are still connected to the surface that we don't know about. If something is trying to hide the entrance on purpose somehow, if something is intelligent enough to do that, like, people don't consider that fact. But if something was actually trying to hide an entrance, it might not be that hard, right? If something is actively using something and trying to disguise the entrance, we might not just find it like we do other caves. So that is something to consider as well. It depends on how intelligent a being we are working with. Plus, the caves that we go in are scratching the surface. Like, even the deep ones, they go pretty deep, right? But mines, just normal industrial mines are so much deeper. The layers of rock that are there, there is a lot of potential. Who knows what, right? Like, who knows what's going on? And I can't speak to any of that stuff because, I just go in the natural case. I actually avoid mines. There are some mines, those sketchy as you know what. I will not touch a mine because, there might be some, 150-year-old timber holding up the ceiling. And I just, nope. Nope. I'd rather have something that's probably not changed that much for a few thousand years versus, was dug out by somebody, in a century or two ago. Um, but like actual industrial scale mines, they do much deeper than like the typical caves. Like I'm thinking of like, okay, the zinc mine in Carthage, Tennessee, for example. That was in my area. Huge. It goes under like several small towns. They have massive trucks. You drive into it. I mean, it is huge, huge. And that's so deep. That's below the caves. That's below like anyway, I mean, the Cumberland River goes right by there, and they're way out of the way of that water table. They're just way down there. Um, I'm not even really sure how all of it works. It would have been a dream come true to ever get to tour it, but it's really hard to ever get in there. They were pretty strict on their security and stuff. They didn't do tours or anything. But, geology nerd myself, it's a shame because it sounds epic. Yeah, so I haven't seen anything, but I'm not saying that nothing is possible. And I'm saying if something is smart enough to be trying to avoid detection, then it would not be that hard to hide. I mean, even in the situations where you had people dumping, the remains of other humans, they knew they could do that because there were so many caves. And usually, like, they weren't really doing much except for just throwing them in there, right? Like, eh, if something was trying to hide, there are a lot of possibilities. So I could never say with certainty, like, oh, they're definitely not doing that. I can't say with certainty they are because I haven't seen anything, but I haven't seen every cave. And even the ones where, lots of people have seen, you never know what's there. You never know what's hiding around, the bend, and there could be some concealed cave entrance. That's the thing with science anyway. Like, I can't ever feel like I can say something is for sure, right? You know what I mean, right?
100%, my friend. And no, I appreciate all that. And I definitely appreciate you stopping in tonight and hanging out with us. And I look forward to getting you on weekly or bi-weekly, whatever works for you, because you have a ton of knowledge to get out there to the public. So I do encourage
Thank you.
everyone to continuously tune in because we will have Mai-Coh back very soon. And she has a ton of amazing stuff. And actually, before I do let you go here, interesting enough, recently we have a bunch of documentation because I was suggesting that Dogmen use basically the same philosophy as trapdoor spiders. They cover up their entrances like to a 7 to 8 foot burrow, and some of our researchers have come across areas where they are very optimistic that these dogmen are burrowing in like at a 45-degree angle backwards, and they will lunge out and grab whatever it is that they're trying to and then pull it back down into the burrow to consume it. So that's some other interesting stuff definitely
That
for
is
us.
chilling. That is so
Yes, for
chilling.
sure. So
Ooh.
hopefully we can try to find a little bit more clarity on that as well, and I will keep you
Absolutely.
posted for sure. But yes, definitely, again, thank you for stopping in tonight and hanging out with us.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, of course. Like I said, I look forward to continuously interacting with you and getting you to help spread some more awareness. And you are a part of our science team. So once we get the North American Dogman Project podcast cranking as well, Jody wants to get all the science members on basically and
Fun.
be able to sit down and talk as well. So you will be included in that.
Wow.
And also, I will keep you posted on the whole Monster Quest thing as to when that's supposed to be dropping. I believe in the fall. Doug Highcheck said he wanted to start working on that, but we need to figure out how big of a team he's looking for us to build and such. So I would like to get you involved in that as well. So
Brilliant. Awesome. I'm so looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Yeah, everyone, be safe out there. I can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Thank you for everyone who once again stopped by tonight for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. If you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, and share it. Feed the algorithm. And I will see you on the next one.